The inciting incident. Every story should have one, but do you know what it is? Most people think that they do, but alas, nope. I've had too many conversations. Most people don't know. So we're going to break that down, and my hope is by the end you should have a very clear understanding of what an inciting incident is, what it does, how it works, all that fun stuff. So we're going to get into that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking if you find value. Subscribe if you haven't done that. Please be sure to check out links below. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump in. The problem with the inciting incident is that a lot of people talk about it like they know what it is, but if they're not talking about it from a story perspective, they have no idea what they're talking about, and they're probably doing it wrong. Now, they might guess sometimes and get it right. That doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. The inciting incident is a story piece. It's a story component. So if anybody starts telling you, oh, the inciting incident is when the audience, but automatic no. As soon as the audience is involved, that's storytelling, not story. Story is involved with the characters and just the world of the story. It has nothing to do with the storytelling. So if the people start giving you a definition of inciting incident and they're talking about the audience or anything related to the audience's experience, when the audience knows something, when the audience is aware of something, all that stuff, it's all wrong. It's all bad. No, hard no. It's story related. Inciting incident is story related. So separate the audience for now. We're going to talk about the story itself, just the story, and that will help you start to understand the inciting incident. So what is it? What is the inciting incident? Okay, the simplest explanation is it's the moment when the status quo for the main character is disrupted. Every story, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It starts, there's a middle, there's an end. The simplest way to kind of understand that is there's a status quo beginning. The status quo is disrupted, and the character then chooses to go do something. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to resolve the disruption of their status quo. That's the second act. And the third act is when there's a new status quo that is established. So we have a status quo, there's a disruption in there at some point. The character then chooses to do something. That's the act 2. And then we get act 3, which is a new status quo. So the inciting incident is when the status quo is disrupted. This is the normal everyday walk around life of your main character. Your main character is just going about doing their normal thing. They do this, they do this, they do this. It's all whatever, right? It's just that. But as soon as that gets disrupted, something else comes in, something else enters, someone else enters, something happens. That's the inciting incident. The inciting incident is the moment the status quo is disrupted. Again, it is not anytime the audience learns something about your character. The audience has nothing to do with the status quo. It doesn't matter if we know that the bad guy is coming. If the main character doesn't know, it's not the inciting incident. Okay, that's dramatic irony when the audience knows something that the character doesn't know. I just recently made a video about that. I'll link that up here. So the inciting incident has nothing to do with the audience. It's not. It's when the main character's status quo is disrupted, when something trips it up, when something enters. It is also not when the character decides to go on their journey or quest or whatever. So you have Act 1, okay? An inciting incident happens at some point in Act 1. The result of the inciting incident is the character's going to make a decision, and the character's going to choose to either engage in something or try to avoid engaging in something. And that's what they're going to spend the bulk of the story doing. That's Act 2, okay? So the decision, that moment, that's actually typically referred to as plot point 1. That is not the inciting incident. The inciting incident is not the decision, okay? The inciting incident is when something disrupts. Joseph Campbell explains it as the call to adventure. It's this moment where it's like, hey, here's this opportunity. Here's this thing available. Here's this thing you need to solve. Here's a problem to address. It's the call to adventure. It's this moment that something disrupts the normal everyday status quo going along. Now, some of you are probably not telling journey stories or things that relate to Joseph Campbell's Hero of Thousand Faces, right? It's not a hero's journey story that you're telling. But if you can start to think of and understand that the inciting incident is a disruption to the status quo, that will help you more easily identify it, because it doesn't have to be a call to adventure. It's just when the status quo is disrupted, when something interrupts, when something creates a problem for the main character. Now, the main character may not know what's coming, and sometimes you'll see some definitions about inciting incidents like, oh, when the character gets an inkling of what's to come. No, the character has no idea what's coming. All they know is they were going along their normal life and something disrupted the status quo. That's it. So we've got this new thing. Now what's the character going to do? That's the inciting incident. And then when the character chooses to do something or to try to avoid doing the thing, that's plot point 1. That's a whole other thing. And that typically is the end of Act 1. Now, you can put plot point 1, which is typically at the end, so that's kind of the end, and we have our beginning, right? The inciting incident can be anywhere in Act 1. And Act 1 doesn't have to be 15 pages or 10 pages or 20 pages or whatever any book you're reading tells you it's got to be. It doesn't have to be that, okay? It's just the status quo. There's a disruption. The character's going to choose to do something about it, yes or no. Act 2, okay? So you can put your inciting incident early, like page 2, page 3, if you really want to. You can have it really, really late. In the movie Speed, the inciting incident and plot point 1 actually happen really, really close together. So Jack Travern, played by Keanu Reeves, just going about his normal day. He's getting coffee. He walks outside. A bus blows up. Inciting incident. His normal day is now different. And a phone rings. Hey, there's a bomb on a bus. There's a bomb on another bus. You got to go do it. Okay, I'd want to know what bus, and off he goes. The inciting incident between the bus blowing up and when he says, I'm going to go do this thing, is like 2.5 minutes or so of screen time. It's not that long. So you can put them very close together. You can also spread them out. We can have an inciting incident early, and the character's debating. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I do it? Should I not do that? And then they decide to do it. So you can spread them out, but you still have to have an inciting incident. It's the status quo, because we need to see what's normal for the character and then disrupt it. So if you can establish what's normal for the character in 2 pages, then you can put the status quo at the bottom of page 2, or the inciting incident at the bottom of page 2. Absolutely. But maybe you need a little more time to establish status quo. That's fine. Give us the inciting incident a little bit later. Hopefully that's helpful to you, and hopefully now have a better understanding of what an inciting incident is. And if you're finding value, please be sure to like, subscribe, bell, all that stuff. I really, really do appreciate it. There's some links below. Be sure to check those out. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to include an inciting incident, okay? You gotta have one. And when you tell a story that matters. See you later.